Mark Levin here. After any presidential election, I take time to reevaluate my own financial investments. That's why I continue to invest in gold for help with my financial protection. When it comes to gold, I only trust Advantage Gold. They're a top gold company in America, and that's who I turn to for my own gold purchases. Call them now at 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit. And see if you qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. And tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Wow, this plane was filled with fabulous people. And when they went down, pulls your heartstrings. These little kids, 11 and 14-year-old sisters, ice skaters, just little kids. Imagine being their parents, because they died too. Everybody's been identified who was on the plane. Two of the three who were on the helicopter, as the family doesn't want the third revealed. I believe there were two men and a woman. When this was first reported, there was a collision with the airplane colliding into the helicopter. That's not what happened. The helicopter hit the airplane. He was almost on the ground. We don't know why. And we will find out. I think the most logical suggestion by these experts is that these helicopter pilots were focused on the other plane and they didn't get specific direction enough. And they didn't see the plane that they hit. I think that's about right. We'll see. Doesn't matter what I think anyway. But there are some things that are getting very troubling to me. And I mean, first of all, there was almost a helicopter plane incident the day before. They're understaffed. And we're hiring 87,000 IRS agents under Biden, and air traffic controllers are understaffed. Does that make sense to anybody? And then we have this from the New York Post. Supervisor let air traffic controller leave shift early before D.C. plane collision. So something went on in that tower. Number one, you had an air traffic controller doing basically two jobs, which is normally done by one, overseeing both the helicopter traffic and the plane traffic, and they're on two different frequencies, as I understand it. And now this, a supervisor at the Reagan National Airport Tower reportedly let an air traffic controller leave early from his shift shortly before Wednesday night's deadly collision over the Potomac. Apparently they do this after 9:30 p.m. Now this accident occurred around 10 minutes before 9 p.m.
As a result, a single controller was monitoring both the airplanes and the helicopters flying in the heavily trafficked airspace, a source familiar with the investigation told NBC News. I'm sure these are politicians leaking. You know, the National Transportation Safety Board really is a top-notch professional operation. They don't leak. So they're briefing some people and they're leaking. But we gain the information. Here it is. One controller should be in charge of helicopters while another watches over airplanes, according to the FAA. Well, that is a big deal. That is a huge screw-up. The FAA said in a preliminary report Thursday that one air traffic controller was doing the job of two people at the time of the devastating crash, noting that staffing in the tower was not normal for the time of day and volume of traffic. Not normal, meaning there were supposed to be two, I guess, and the supervisor let one go early, I guess. I'm just piecing together what's in the public record. One person typically handles both plane and helicopter duties at the Reagan National Tower after 9 p.m. when an air traffic begins to slow. The New York Times has reported. A breakdown in communication with air traffic control could be an element behind the crash, which left 67 people dead. According to radio transmissions from Wednesday night, the lone controller warned the U.S. Army Black Hawk that it was getting too close to the CRJ, that type of plane, which the experienced helicopter pilot acknowledged. And maybe that's why he wound up in a higher level than he typically would. Experts believe the helicopter pilot may have maneuvered to avoid the wrong plane, a jet of the same model that was taking off farther away, the same model, since the controller never relayed the precise location of the American Airlines flight until it was too late. National Transportation Safety Board is investigating whether the helicopter was flying too high as well. I have some examples here that one college student who died in the plane crash was returning from his grandfather's funeral. But there's so many stories here. Husband whose wife texted him minutes before the fatal D.C. collision details the heartbreaking moment he learned about the doomed flight. A Long Island figure skater mourns D.C. plane crash victims, including baby skater's sister. Like a really bad nightmare, and I just can't imagine. I just can't imagine. The chopper was flying at an altitude of 350 to 400 feet when it smashed into the plane, when it should have been flying at a maximum allowed altitude of 200 feet. That's a big problem. The airport's air traffic control facilities had been understaffed for years, with only 19 fully certified controlled on deck as of September 2023, according to the FAA. The facility should have had 30. As per the goal set by the FAA and Controllers Union, shortages led controllers to work 10-hour days and 6 days a week, so they're exhausted. In the Biden-era plan, the FAA said it is committed to maximum hiring for the next few years to recover from substantial underhiring due to COVID pandemic and lapse in the funding in 2019, but it didn't happen. And they were mightily focused on DEI, and actually beyond DEI, to be perfectly honest with you. Absolute mess. It's just, it's hard to stomach these things. You see these things, you think about your own family, you think about what these people are going through, you think about how many times you've been on an airplane. Many of us have been at that airport over and over and over again. And it's tough, for people to get their head around it. And, we'll see how this breaks down. We'll keep an eye on this. We're not going to forget it. So we'll keep an eye on this. A lot of hubbub. Apparently, the president is going to be releasing some FBI agents. And media is very upset about it. I've noticed the media reporting is really grotesque. Everything Trump does is questioned. Everything Trump does is going to harm the economy. Everything Trump does has racial overtones. Everything that they haven't changed. They just haven't changed, and they're not going to change. They just are what they are. Over at Right Scoop, President Trump to fire tons, I don't know if they're tons, of FBI agents by the end of the day. He's set to fire FBI agents who worked on the investigations of J6ers and those that targeted him with criminal investigations. This according to CNN. Via Right Scoop, the Trump administration is set to expand a purge of career law enforcement affairs. See, they use this Soviet-style, communist-style language, purge. With dozens of FBI agents who worked on January 6th, U.S. attack, Capitol attack, and Trump-related investigations, as well as some supervisors being evaluated for possible removal as soon as the end of Friday, according to people briefed on the matter. The changes highlight how the new administration has moved quickly to deliver on President Trump's vow to strike back at the Justice Department and FBI that he claims have been weaponized against him. It's not a claim, it's a reality. And if people were, in fact, carrying out these weaponized attacks on him and others, why shouldn't they be removed? Trump has falsely accused agents of abuse in their court-ordered search of his Mar-a-Lago home and of their treatment of Capitol rioters. No, he hasn't falsely accused them of anything. He hasn't falsely accused them of anything. That warrant was outrageous. What was done in his home was outrageous. The thing was outrageous from top to bottom. It was almost Gestapo-like, in my opinion. Whether or not some master was involved in it, that is a lightweight judge, is irrelevant to me. And then over at Right Scoop, they write, seriously, CNN, Trump has falsely accused anyone of abuse. This administration did abuse him, and the deep state needs to be purged. That's exactly what he's doing because he can't trust them. I'm with him. I'm with Brian over at Right Scoop. Interim leaders at the Justice Department have spent the past week drawing up lists of people who work at the Bureau have earned disfavor with Trump for a variety of reasons. Agents and analysts have been warned by FBI leadership they may be asked to resign or face termination. Yes, you live by the sword, you die by the sword, right, Mr. Producer? Agents who worked the investigation of Trump's alleged mishandling of classified documents and those who investigated the roughly 1,600 rioters, they weren't all rioters. CNN is sick. Have been concerned that they could face retribution for doing work they were assigned to do. Well, some of them didn't do work they were assigned to do. Some of them were excited about doing this kind of work. Were excited about the pursuit of the former president. And as Brian at Right Scoop points out, if Trump can't trust those working for him because of reckless lawfare against him and the J6ers, I don't blame him one bit for giving them the axe. Bye-bye, deep staters. And my view is this. Why is it that if you were involved in this, you're just presumed not to have done anything wrong? Well, Mark, why is it presumed you have done something wrong? See, here's the thing. This is the typical kind of report you get from the media. What have they told us? Nothing. Are these just people assigned to cases, or are these people who are actively leading, making decisions, that sort of thing? Because the decisions they made were outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. There aren't many heroes in this. There aren't many heroes in this. Yeah. And so I don't have a problem with this in the least. What that department put this nation through, what that department tried to do to our electoral process, people need to be held to account. They can always sue if they're fired and let chips fall where they may. Nothing stops them from suing. On the other hand, Donald Trump is serious about trying to get his hands around this government, not because he wants to control it personally, because it's out of control. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Did you see what the Federal Reserve did literally days after President Trump's victory? It lowered interest rates by a quarter. Do you know why it did that? It's worried about the economy. It's worried about the fact that jobs aren't being created. We're seeing all kinds of shifts in our portfolios, and it's important to stay aware. That's why I'm urging everyone to diversify and consider gold as one of your financial shields. Now, gold has weathered every kind of economic downturn throughout history. I want you to call Advantage Gold. They're the best of the best, folks. I've dealt with all of them. They're the best. They're my gold company. 1-800-900-8000. Get a free gold investment kit to see how you can get started with gold. I recommend Advantage Gold to anyone who's serious about protecting their wealth, and that's you. Call 800-900-8000 for your free gold investment kit, and you can even qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call them now. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. You'll be very happy with them. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional. These lawsuits are evidence of more lawfare. This is in an effort to thwart the election results, to thwart the policies of Trump, and they're free to bring these lawsuits. But let's not be confused about what's taking place here. This second judge, who's ruled like the first judge, putting a freeze on what President Trump's trying to do. And he's not trying to do it with the entire budget. He's trying to freeze grants and spending for 60 days that have been going to these left-wing NGOs that have promoted illegal immigration and these other front groups, these radical agenda things. It's very, very specific about what he's trying to do. It has nothing to do with all the rest that Schumer and the Democrats complain about. And the budget is so massive, the government's so big, the debt is beyond imagine. And this is a tiny little piece. He wants to freeze it. This judge was appointed by Obama. He's a left-wing Democrat. The other judge they got to was appointed by Reagan as part of a deal with Democrats from the state. A Democrat, liberal, old-time judge. So they just happen to keep getting these Democrat left-wing judges. And this is their plan. This is the Lawfare Part 2. How to thwart the American people. First it was how to destroy our electoral process, how to destroy the candidate they might dare to challenge their agenda. Now it's let's destroy the candidate who won the presidency, who won a landslide election. Let's destroy his policy agenda. Let's block it every way we can. And so they form shop. Somehow they just managed to get these radical Democrat judges. Isn't it amazing? And again, we have an article on this judge without specifying who he is, Mr. Producer. Isn't that fascinating? It's the way it works with our media, such as it is. Be nice if we had a free media. It really would. But we clearly don't. We clearly do not. And you're not going to hear a lot about this. Our friends at Breitbart and elsewhere, Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries calls to fight Trump's agenda, quote, in the streets. Democratic minority leader Hakeem Jeffries, speaker in waiting, he thinks, is facing blowback and not by the media, not by his party, after calling for supporters to fight President Donald Trump's agenda not only legislatively, but, quote, in the streets. Quote, right now we're going to keep focused on the need to look out for everyday New Yorkers and everyday Americans who are under assault. Are you under assault by Donald Trump, ladies and gentlemen? What has he done to assault you? Under assault. See the language he uses? He uses the language of the Democrat Party militia that we saw in 2020. That we've seen elsewhere, Obama's buddies from the 1960s and 70s? Because that's really who Hakeem Jeffries is. He's really a radical. He's managed to kind of keep it covered. No. You go back and look at his past. What do they want to do? They want to cut taxes for billionaire donors and wealthy corporations, of course, which is BS. I don't know. No taxes on tips seems to be for the average person to me. That's not acceptable. We're going to fight it legislatively. We're going to fight it in the courts. We're going to fight it in the streets. I'm not done with this. I'll be right back. The markets are volatile. They're shooting up wildly only to drop without warning. The Fed just cut rates yet again, this time by a quarter point. Why? Because the Federal Reserve is not confident the economy is strong. In fact, last month only 12,000 jobs were created, all of them in the government. That's why I'm telling you again, diversification is crucially important. And diversification with gold is what I do. And the company I use, and I've used many, the best one is Advantage Gold. Call them now at 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit to see how gold can help you diversify your investments and take advantage now. Now, gold has been helping to protect and grow wealth for people for thousands of years. And in these times, it can be more crucial than ever. When it comes to gold, I trust Advantage Gold. They're one of the top gold companies in America. They're who I turn to when I purchase gold. Call them now, 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000 now for a free gold investment kit to see how gold can help you with your investment portfolio, a.k.a. your bank accounts, your paycheck. And when you do, you can qualify for $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Folks, don't wait. Call them now, 800-900-8000, and tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
Mark Levin on the front line of liberty. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
Okay, here's Hakeem, the words right out of his mouth. Cut 3, go.
We're going to keep focused on the need to look out for everyday New Yorkers and everyday Americans who are under assault by an extreme MAGA Republican agenda that is trying to cut taxes for billionaire donors and wealthy corporations, and then
So let's stop there. How's he cutting taxes for billionaire donors? First of all, the tax plan isn't even presented. They're still playing with it. But what happens is, you see, there's across-the-board taxes, and that would include billionaires and would include people who don't earn that much money because they don't play the Marxist class warfare stuff. So they're going to call it tax cuts for billionaires. If the Trump tax cuts of the past lapse, the average person, many of you, will see your taxes go up 45%. So they would blame Trump for that too, right? The truth is the Democrats have no rational, workable plan. When it comes to cutting the budget, they don't want to cut it. When it comes to addressing the debt, they talk about raising taxes, which of course kills what? The creation of taxes, because you lose prosperity and growth and jobs. They're irrational. They have no plan. They have no plan for securing the border because they opened the border. They have no plan for fighting criminality because they open the door to criminality. So you can go on and on and on. They're the arsonists. That's who they are. Go ahead.
Workers and working class Americans across the country with the bill. That's not acceptable. We are going to fight it. Legislatively, we are going to fight it in the courts, and we're going to fight it in the streets.
He makes that with emphasis, with real drama, Mr. Producer. We're going to fight it in the streets. Now, will he be confronted by any of the so-called news media? Will he be on any of their programs on Sunday where they'll confront him? How about Yvette Clarke, Democrat of New York? Cut 4, go.
The leader has given us directives on how we will stand together to make sure that we push back hard, and thwart the ideas and the plans that this administration has set forth. Clearly, they put forth a project.
All right, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Doesn't sound like to me that they want to work together in a bipartisan way, does it? No. They don't want to work in a bipartisan way. This is guerrilla warfare. Then we have Raphael Warnock, another left-wing nutjob. Another left-wing nutjob. Cut 5, go.
On January 6th, it was clear that in a violent way...
January 6th, they can't get over January 6th. Because they exploit it. Now, Warnock knows about 2020 the entire summer, doesn't he? About the Democrat Party militia in the streets, burning, pillaging, killing, stealing, destroying. Never crosses his lips. He knows about all the radicals. Basically, the Marxist terrorists and the so-called student movements and so forth in the 1960s and 70s. No. January 6th, don't you understand? January 6th. Go ahead.
They were coming after the Republic. Coming after
you don't even
the
like the Republic. You don't even support the Republic. These guys on the left talk about the Constitution. They hate the Constitution. Talk about the Republic. They hate the Republic. That's the bottom line. These aren't small differences we have with the left. The left wants to destroy our society. That's it. They attack the society. They want to destroy the society. And they've been succeeding for a long time. Go ahead.
Transfer of power, including a kind of brutality visited upon police officers.
He's worried about police officers. That's a first. He's worried about police officers. So tell me, did he speak up against the entire police precinct that was burned to the ground in Minneapolis? Not a word. Police officers. I would ask police officers across the state of Georgia, is Warnock a champion for you? Is he? Of course not. It's a champion for the criminals, the perpetrators. Nah, not for him. Then we have somebody called Gina Griswold, who's the Colorado Secretary of State on the Morning Schmo Show. What does she have to say? Just listen. It's the same old book. They're not going to change. Are they fighting with each other? Yes, but they're fighting over how far to go, how to employ their tactics. They're still talking about Hitler and the Third Reich. They're still talking about January 6th. They don't have a single idea, none, on how to govern in a way that is effectively helpful to the average person. They don't have any idea what to do because they want more taxes. They want more regulations. They want the border open, which kills American jobs. Go ahead.
Well, I think there's a lot of concern. I have a lot of concern about Trump's continued danger to American democracy. Look, day one, first official act, one of the first official acts, he decided to pardon the January 6th insurrectionists.
There you go. So you see, he's a threat to democracy. Still, I don't know who this backbencher is, but she's there. They're all over the place. He's still a threat to democracy. The people who want to destroy the Supreme Court, the people who attack the Constitution relentlessly, and the people who wrote it, the people who seek to amend the Constitution constantly without amending the Constitution, the people who keep going to the Supreme Court and losing because of the crazy-ass ideas that they have, suddenly they're the defenders of the Constitution and the Republic. No, they're not. They hate them. They hate them. Democrat Party, they're not contributing anything to try and help people in this country. They're not contributing a thing. Nothing. Obstruction, smear tactics, character assassination, going on the offense, lying about what Trump has done. You know, it's interesting. I went back and I looked. I didn't have time to pull them all up, but about a year ago this time, they were very concerned, the Democrats, that Biden might lose. And so Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and so-called moderate 15, but there were others, many others, kept talking about government by executive order. Remember that, Mr. Producer? I even brought it up once or twice here. Government by executive order. They were all for it. And the guy who first really exploited this was Joe Biden himself in the first week of his past presidency, where he issued, what was it, 100, 120, 150 executive orders all over the place. Now, Donald Trump, when he first won in 2016, he didn't do that. But obviously, he's a counterpuncher, and he's there, and he's thinking, no question about it, if Biden can do it, I can do it. And if Biden will do it, I will do it. And now the Democrats are upset about what they've unleashed. What they've unleashed. This is what they've unleashed. So they try to sabotage his appointees. They try and block his agenda. They're talking about taking to the streets. Then they get mad at him when he's doing executive orders. What's Trump supposed to do? Just resign and say, you know what, I won, but I'm out. Crazy. Crazy. Go ahead.
People who stormed the Capitol to try to steal the presidency from the American people.
Nobody stole it, and nobody tried to steal it. This is the funny thing. I know the truth hurts. I really do. I know it hurts. And I take the slings and arrows all the time. I do, and I don't care. They were never going to overturn the election. It was impossible. It was impossible. Unless the Congress there had voted one way as opposed to the other. There was no way. This wasn't a legion of armed people. They didn't burn down the Capitol building. They didn't seize hundreds, if not thousands, of guns, Molotov cocktails. In other words, it wasn't the 2020 Democrat Party militia rioting throughout our streets. No, they didn't do any of that. I am no special pleader for those who attack cops. I've said it here over and over again, and I'm never going to be. Period. Donald Trump explained now several times the reason he had a blanket pardon, including for those people, was they already served enough time, several years, he said, and that's that. Particularly when you compare it to the violent individuals, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, the 2020, and so forth and so on. So that's his conclusion. But let's not pretend that January 6th was going to overthrow our government. You know what's overthrowing the government? The Democrat Party by design. You don't have to have a quote-unquote violent revolution to overthrow a government. In fact, some of the more sinister and evil communist theoreticians over time, they said, don't do that. The American people won't go for it. Take it slow and easy over the decades. From the top down, not the bottom up. I've talked about Gramsci, the Italian communist, who had a very, very big impact on the American communists, a.k.a. the American Progressive Movement. That's right. Top down. Take over the bureaucracy. Take over the courts. Woodrow Wilson often contradicted himself about which branch of government they should take over and focus on first, but in the end he decided it was the judiciary. Why? Because it's not answerable to the public. Why do you think the Democrats are going in court to try and stop Trump? Why do you think they use the bureaucracy to try to stop Trump? Why do you think Trump is trying to get some control over the bureaucracy? Not for ideological reasons. Trying to get some control over the bureaucracy so the bureaucracy will do the job it's supposed to do rather than try and sabotage him. He's been through it. He saw what they did to him. And now, of course, the Democrats are using their lifetime appointed radical Democrat trial judges to thwart Trump. That's what they're doing. Now they're complaining about executive orders. I'm one of the people who's not big on government by executive orders. Now what Trump is doing, hopefully, the next time a Democrat wins, God forbid, they'll understand there are consequences. There's consequences for what you're doing. You use the FBI against Trump. You use the FBI against a lot of people who you didn't agree with. We've never seen anything like it. And J. Edgar Hoover's long dead. You've all but destroyed the FBI, certainly at the senior and middle levels. And Trump says, okay, well, I'm going to deal with this. I'm going to deal with it. And, of course, the other side, they have their media friends out there squawking about it. Oh, look at this. He's going after FBI people who went after him. By the way, like there's something wrong with that. It's incredible. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Did you see what the Federal Reserve did literally days after President Trump's victory? It lowered interest rates by a quarter. Do you know why it did that? It's worried about the economy. It's worried about the fact that jobs aren't being created. We're seeing all kinds of shifts in our portfolios, and it's important to stay aware. That's why I'm urging everyone to diversify and consider gold as one of your financial shields. Now, gold has weathered every kind of economic downturn throughout history. I want you to call Advantage Gold. They're the best of the best, folks. I've dealt with all of them. They're the best. They're my gold company. 1-800-900-8000. Get a free gold investment kit to see how you can get started with gold. I recommend Advantage Gold to anyone who's serious about protecting their wealth, and that's you. Call 800-900-8000 for your free gold investment kit, and you can even qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call them now. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. You'll be very happy with them. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional. This is from CBS News Philadelphia. Emergency crews are responding to an explosion in northeast Philadelphia after a small plane crashed in the area of Roosevelt Boulevard and Cotman Avenue. Roosevelt Boulevard and Cotman Avenue, I know exactly where that is. I've been growing up in Cheltenham, which is right on the border with northeastern Philadelphia, the Northeast as we call it. In fact, my grandmother for decades lived on Strail Street, right off Roosevelt Boulevard, as did many of her siblings. That is a very heavily populated area. 2 people were aboard the plane, according to police. There are other injuries reported on the ground. Multiple homes were on fire in the area of Cotman Avenue and Roosevelt Boulevard following the crash, fire officials said. Crazy. It's unclear at this time what led to the crash. Of course, it's unclear at this time. And there is a big mall there, at least there was when I was a kid. Maybe they knocked it down and built something else. I don't know, but they say that the aircraft reportedly hit the mall. So that's all we know. That is a massive explosion. You see that on TV, Mr. Producer? Massive. And that is right in the middle of a neighborhood. That I know. And they have row homes. A lot of row homes in this part of Philadelphia, a lot of Philadelphia, period, where really is where the beginning of the row home really existed, and there's many of them. And I know exactly where this is, and that is unbelievable. Apparently it hit a mall there. One has nothing to do with the other. That is the Potomac, and I'm not saying it does, but they better put that fire out. That neighborhood's going to catch on fire. No question about that. Philadelphia Police Department and Fire Department are great departments. Great departments, and much like New York and the other cities, they've been under attack by the radical left-wing kooks who run these cities. But the men and women of the Police and Fire Department of Philadelphia, like NYPD and the FDNY, and whether it's Los Angeles or Chicago, wherever it is, these are fantastic people. Again, the first responders are there. Again, they're the first ones on the ground trying to contain what could be a fairly significant situation, but I think they'll be able to contain it. That's just me. I'm just observing, but I think they should be able to. I've never heard of something went wrong with that plane, obviously. And the Cotman Avenue and Roosevelt Boulevard, everybody in and around Philadelphia know exactly what I'm talking about. Those are main thoroughfares. Those are big, big roads. When I grew up in Cheltenham, I used to take my bike and ride from Cotman Avenue. I couldn't get all the way to Roosevelt Boulevard, but going to the Northeast. It was a wonderful, wonderful childhood. Wonderful, wonderful parents. I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Well, many of you are watching what I'm watching. It's stunning, and that plane didn't look like it fell out of the sky. It looked like it slammed right into that mall on a Friday evening. And as I grew up near here, as I've explained, it's a highly populated area, row home after row home after row home. That intersection, Cotman Avenue and Roosevelt Boulevard, are two of the busiest intersections in the city of Philadelphia. Now, this is outer Philadelphia. It's in the northeast. But it doesn't matter. It's a massive explosion. Didn't look like a big plane. It's hard to tell. And I'm certainly not saying it's a missile, but it sure hit right into that building, didn't it? Didn't it, Rich? Very fast. It just didn't look like it was falling out of the sky. You know, the horrendous thing we saw the other night over the Potomac. It didn't look like that. Maybe there was some kind of air collision. Maybe not. Maybe they lost complete control of the plane. Maybe the guy had a heart attack. I don't know. But that thing, there it is. Boom. It's almost like an asteroid or something. Not an asteroid, not that big, but it looks like or that it, you know, something of that sort. Boom. That you see on. Well, you see missiles, you see on TV and so forth, but it was amazing. Now they're trying to put these fires out. They don't want a massive gas line explosion. I'm sure they're probably moving people out of their homes, I'm guessing. This would be typical protocol, but I don't know. If he did, in fact, have a direct hit on that mall, there's got to be casualties. There's no way that there wouldn't be. And there's no way there wouldn't be a lot of people there. Excuse me, I'm a little cold. That there wouldn't be a lot of people there on a Friday night. So I'm wondering what the hell happened here. It's very strange. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep watching what's taking place here. There's cops and firefighters everywhere, as you can imagine. In fact, just so you know, again, I'll give you a little bit of background. Many of the people who work in the Philadelphia police force and fire department live in Northeast Philadelphia. They live in other parts, obviously, as well, but many of them live in Northeast Philadelphia. And well, I don't know what else to say right now. We don't know anything. But I haven't really seen anything like that. The plane direct hit into a mall, massive. That was a massive explosion. I guess the National Transportation Safety Board is going to have to look at this one too. Obviously, I know what goes through my mind, and I know what goes through your mind too, but I'm not going to voice it because I don't have the foggiest idea. Maybe it's just the worst of luck, bad luck, that a plane hits a mall like that on a Friday night. I don't know. I just don't know. But if you're looking to do maximum damage, I think you would hit a mall on a Friday night, would you not, Rich? But I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just telling you, I'm thinking what you're thinking about the various possibilities. No, I'm not being irresponsible. I'm just voicing what's in my mind. I have no conclusion. I have no way of knowing any of it. But we watch it. Just as we watched what took place over the Potomac, which was so horrendous. And I told you the other night, I said to my wife, the helicopter hit the plane. Flew right into the plane. For whatever reason, not intentional, obviously. It's a military chopper. It's a Cobra. But something went terribly wrong. Here, obviously something's gone terribly wrong. But it looks like a completely different crash event to me. Now, it could just be, as I say, the guy loses control, or gal, and the plane just happens to hit the mall. Who knows? Guess we'll find out soon enough, but somebody's going to have to figure out something. I guess they're going to want to know who's flying the plane, what may have happened to the individual. I don't know. But we'll stay on top of this. And it's almost like when it rains, it pours, these things. It's just very, very sad. They always say they come in threes. I don't know. I don't even know whether to believe that or not, but there you have it. The same agencies dealing with what took place in, excuse me, in the Potomac River, Virginia and Washington, D.C., that area, are going to have to deal with this now. No question about it. And the locals, too. As I said, the Philadelphia firefighters and police are top-notch, absolutely top-notch, despite the lousy DA and the lousy mayor and the lousy you-know-what. You know the story. Anybody that lives in and around a city, it's the same story. It takes really unique men and women to join these metropolitan police forces and fire departments. It really does. These are remarkable people. Absolutely remarkable people. As soon as I know more, I will give you more information, but right now we just don't know. People who are unfamiliar with Philadelphia, I just want to say again, this is in the northeastern part of Philadelphia. And the Roosevelt Boulevard and Cottman Avenue, this is an extremely heavily traveled and populated area. There are row homes everywhere. Row homes, believe it or not, this is where they started in Philadelphia way back, really in the colonial times. And when you go to visit Independence Hall, if you walk far enough around it, you'll see some row homes, obviously different types, but Betsy Ross lived in a row home, that sort of thing. And I guess they're akin to townhouses. That's the best I can do. But when I look at the firefighting trucks, that road, I'm guessing that road is the Roosevelt Boulevard. The Roosevelt Boulevard at one point, half a century or more ago, was the Guinness Book of Records. I remember this because as a kid I used to read the Guinness Book of Records just to read it. It was considered the widest road in America. Another road, Broad Street, was considered one of the widest roads in America. So remember, Philadelphia is one of our oldest cities. It's also, geographically speaking, a very big city. Geographically speaking. L.A. is a very big city. New York people consider a very big city, but in terms of square mileage and so forth, you have many more people living in New York, metropolitan New York, than you do in these other cities. Number one, it's a bigger population, but number two, it is not a small area, but a smaller area than some of these other cities. Looks like there's fire still going on. I'm guessing it's the underground gas pipes, that sort of thing. They'll figure it out, but you gotta wonder how many casualties there are. Hopefully none. Hopefully none. We'll get back to some issues here while we're monitoring this very carefully on this Friday evening. This is why I always tell you, some of our brothers and sisters, you look at Friday evening as, let me just bring in 412 guests, let me take it easy. I never do. I keep the foot on the gas pedal. I've always found it's very strange that a lot of news breaks on Fridays. I don't know why. Friday evenings, Friday nights. Now, some of it is by design when you have somebody releasing a press release or bringing an indictment. But I've always found these events, not in every instance, but they often happen on a Friday night. It's the weirdest damn thing. And they often happen in my third hour. Now, this one's in my second hour. Friday nights. Donald Trump at the White House today. He's saying, look, the Palestinians need to go to either Egypt or Jordan or both. And historically, Jordan, which is a pretend country, but that area is where these so-called Palestinians are from. Now, they weren't Palestinians. I've explained this before. They were Arabs. But Arabs are broken down into different tribes, too. And so they were a different Arab tribe than many of the Arab nations that surround that particular area. But Jordan is 72% what we'll call Palestinian, 72%. The reason they don't want a single new Palestinian in Jordan is because this king's father, they had a revolution. There was a civil war that took place, and he had to put down the Palestinian, the riots. And there were a lot of deaths. I think 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 deaths. He imprisoned a lot of people and so forth. He had to put them down. He wants nothing to do with more Palestinians, especially the more radicalized ones in Gaza, in Judea and Samaria. He wants nothing to do with Hamas, nothing to do with Fatah, nothing to do with any of them. And yet, he keeps insisting that Israel create another state for them. Well, Israel's not going to do that, and I hope they're not. Let me put it to you this way. I hope nobody's thinking about that, because I'm going to fight it like hell, because that'll be Israel's demise. In Egypt, I don't know directly, but I'm guessing the president's looking at the Sinai Peninsula. The Sinai Peninsula was conquered by the Israelis after they were attacked by the Egyptians. And the Israelis gave it back to the Egyptians as part of a peace deal. As part of a peace deal with Sadat and Menachem Begin. But that's a lot of land there. But the problem is, and the Egyptians really know it, they look in their hearts, they know it, is that you have an entire culture now with this particular sect of Arabs, a.k.a. Palestinians, that is a culture of murder and incivility through indoctrination and repetition. And none of these countries want anything to do with them. Remember, Egypt is a military dictatorship. That can be overthrown too. Jordan is a monarchical dictatorship. That can be overthrown too. And these people from this very same heritage tried to do that. The Saudis want nothing to do with them. And so they keep claiming, well, Israel is really Palestinian territory. It's never been Palestinian territory, ever. Certainly not Judea and Samaria, among everything else. So here's the president. Cut 18, Mr. Producer. Go.
Mr. President, do you still think it's a good idea for Jordan and Egypt to be taking in Palestinians when they reject the idea and the Palestinians who are living now in Egypt?
I think Jordan will take people from Gaza. And I think Egypt will take them also. I mean, I heard somebody said they're not going to, but I think they will. I feel confident they will.
There you go. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
This country was founded on freedom. Freedom from a country that forced us to buy overpriced tea, then try blockading us when we dumped their tea into the ocean. How'd that work out? Well, it's time to throw your overpriced big wireless contract overboard, too. You don't need to pay $100 a month per person just to get a free phone. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, says no to inflated prices and gimmicks. With a qualifying plan of just $45 a month, you can choose a free iPhone 14 or a free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plans. And yes, this is for a premium service. Unlimited talk, text, 25 gigs of data, and mobile hotspot at a fraction of the price of the big three. All on America's most dependable 5G network. Get your free iPhone 14 or Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plans by visiting puretalk.com/Levin today. Switching is easy. Again, that's puretalk.com/LEVIN to claim your free iPhone or Galaxy with a qualifying purchase from Pure Talk. America's wireless company, my wireless company. I'm reading some, intaking some news here as we're coming on the air to try and get an update on this situation in Philadelphia. Let's see here. Not getting a lot of information, Mr. Producer. Let's see. Yeah, well, we will wait till we have more information. Again, I'm not going to make any untoward comments. That was a hell of an explosion. I just wonder how big that plane was, or I just want, or did it hit something? We don't know. I'm just raising the questions. Let's see, the latest I have here. Emergency crews are responding. Small plane crash. 2 people were aboard the plane. Police told CBS News. 2 people. Homes nearby reportedly caught fire. Still grabbing the details. I'm sure they know a lot more about the plane and the people on the plane than we do. This looks like it was an accident, or something went wrong with the plane. That's what we think here. Just bear with me. This is live radio. Again, 2 people are on the board, on the plane, at least as of the first report. Some of the houses are on fire. Some parts of the plane hit cars. Some businesses near the Roosevelt Mall are on fire. Obviously, home shook when it took the wow. When you go online and you really look at the area, I mean, it is at least a couple of block area. It was pretty heavily damaged here. Just stick with me. Again, we're doing this live. I don't have a news team. I am the news team. Mr. Producer and I are the news team. But that was a massive explosion, Rich, didn't you think? Let's take John in Philadelphia, who was 5 miles away from the area on XM satellite. John, how are you, and what do you know?
Well, it's an honor to speak with you, first of all. I love your passion and fire. Thanks, Mark, for all you do.
Thanks,
5
buddy.
miles away, we live in a single home development, one of the few in Philadelphia, and my wife was getting out in the car with her sister-in-law when it happened, and I thought the car blew up. That's how loud it was, and everything.
And you were 5 miles
crazy.
from it?
Yeah, we're about 5 miles from it. It was
and you still
big.
heard it. Did you feel anything out there?
It shook the neighborhood. I thought my sister-in-law's car blew up. That's how.
5 miles away.
And it felt like I thought it shook the whole neighborhood. It felt like her car exploded. I looked right out the window. I thought, oh, God, what's going on? Yeah, it's really it's a very congested area. High traffic, a lot of people there, especially on a Friday, Saturday night.
In Roosevelt Mall, I'm sure you've been there, right?
Yeah, I've been there. I remember the heyday. Now it's a terrible area. Section 8 has really killed.
Yeah, I remember it too.
Between
the
apartments and everything, and it's a shame. It's not like it used to be when you were a kid. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty dense. It's a very dense area.
It's very dense. Yes, it is. It's row house upon row house. There's no single houses in that area of what I know.
There never were. No, you're right.
No, it's just a smattering of, like in the areas where we are, like there's just a smattering of single homes. More on the outskirts are the single homes, and more inward.
Are you getting any more information locally about? I mean, I'm looking
at the news. Go ahead. I'm looking at the news now. It looks like the plane went directly over the row houses and right into the mall, and I could see the fireball coming up beyond the houses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks like a direct hit right into the.
Yeah, it looks like it from the video that they keep showing. That it looks like a direct hit into the mall.
Right, and then a mushroom cloud coming up right over the row houses.
That's a big damn explosion for a little plane. I'm just saying it is. Maybe it was a bigger plane. Maybe it hit a gas line. Maybe. Hey, buddy, thank you for your call. God bless and take care of yourself. All right. We'll keep on this as well as other things. We'll be right back. This country was founded on freedom. Freedom from a country that forced us to buy overpriced tea, then try blockading us when we dumped their tea into the ocean. How'd that work out? Well, it's time to throw your overpriced big wireless contract overboard, too. You don't need to pay $100 a month per person just to get a free phone. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, says no to inflated prices and gimmicks. With a qualifying plan of just $45 a month, you can choose a free iPhone 14 or a free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plans. And yes, this is for a premium service. Unlimited talk, text, 25 gigs of data, and mobile hotspot at a fraction of the price of the big three. All on America's most dependable 5G network. Get your free iPhone 14 or Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plans by visiting puretalk.com/Levin today. Switching is easy. Again, that's puretalk.com/LEVIN to claim your free iPhone or Galaxy with a qualifying purchase from Pure Talk. America's wireless company, my wireless company.
Yes, it's true that Mark Levin is the fastest growing radio show in America. The Mark Levin Show is on at 877-381-3811.
All right, I've been listening in on some of the local reporting, Fox 29 and some of the others in Philadelphia. They're reporting there were 6 people on the jet, that it was a small jet. They believe 2 doctors. I'm just repeating what they said. A patient, and a family member, pilot, co-pilot, 2 doctors, patient, that's 6. Again, this could be wrong, but I'm just telling you what they are reporting locally. Likely a small jet. The governor has tweeted that it was a private plane. This occurred around 6:30. Honestly, as I was reading that live commercial to you, I said, well, what the hell is that? Well, it was an explosion. And we don't know much more than that. And the way that the plane slammed into the ground, I mean, that was a direct hit. In other words, yeah, the mall, but I mean, it fired like a missile, which caused my antenna to go up. But apparently, as I always say, I don't know. I'm just telling you what I'm observing. And now we know a little more, at least according to the local reporters there, if it's accurate. I would suspect it is accurate. They took off from a regional airport in northeast Philadelphia. It's amazing. It's I know exactly where that airport is. I know exactly what we're talking about. I've been there in, good Lord, how long has it been? 40 years or so, but maybe 45 years, but I know exactly where they're talking about. And that's what we have. Now, we have a lot more right now than we did an hour ago, obviously, and I'm sure we'll get even more than that. But in terms of what happened to the plane, you know, pilots, former pilots, fighter pilots, helicopter pilots, the media grabbing anybody they can to give their comment on what might have happened. And so people will speculate, but I don't think they know. And the best of them are saying it's way too early for me to know because I don't know. What do I know other than what I see on the video? One did say, I think rationally, I don't think the wings were iced up. Number one, the temperature is not low enough for that. Number two, that's not how that plane would crash. I think that's right as a matter of physics and just logic. And they hadn't taken off, I mean, to go from the Northeast Regional Airport or the Northeast Airport and to hit that mall, and I know where they are, they didn't get very far, Mr. Producer. They didn't get very far, and the plane would have been loaded with its fuel, assuming they filled up, and I don't know if they did or not. But they didn't get very far, so early on into the flight, something happened. And some kind of a medical flight. Can you imagine? It's a medical flight, and now they're all dead, whoever was on the plane. Initial report said 2 had died. So these things may change over time. The local reporter seemed pretty definitive in what he apparently knew. It's always good to go to the local guys because, you know, they have the contacts and they have the access locally to the information that's taking place. Geez, Mr. Producer, I'm flying tomorrow. You know, I'm looking at this going, what the hell? I think we'll be fine. It is still the safest way of transportation as far as I know. Just crazy. Crazy. We don't know how many people are dead on the ground. I can't imagine that everybody escaped. Maybe it's possible that some people... I mean, that was quite an explosion. But maybe that's just good luck. But as I tell you again, it's a very heavily populated area. northeastern Philadelphia, in that specific spot. Roosevelt Boulevard, Cobman Avenue. I'll tell you a little story. Why not? You know, the days when I grew up, there were things that you did that were fun. They were not dangerous. They weren't criminal. They were just different. And there was, and they used to have bingo night, Fridays and Saturday nights. My grandmother showed us this place, and we'd go there. Often my brothers and I, or maybe a couple of friends and I. Maybe I was 16. Remember, I used to drive one of my parents' car. My parents got a car, an old used car for the boys to use, and we beat the hell out of it, but it had a great engine. It's an old Oldsmobile. They used to have good engines. And we would go there often on the weekends, and they had the best kosher hot dogs with challah rolls. That's not why we went there. Because they used to play blackjack in there, Mr. Producer. Blackjack. So I'd work on the weekends or something like that, and then I'd take my allowance, I'd put it together. Maybe I had $50, $25, $22, whatever it was, and I'd go and I'd play blackjack. Now, there was bingo kind of on the side. All for charity, I'm sure. That's what they used to say. It wasn't a big place. And back then, people were smoking their cigarettes and cigars. You know, there was nothing illegal about it. The room was filled with smoke. But these were older people, nice people. We may have been among the youngest. Nobody cared. Cops didn't care. Nobody cared. It's a fee to get in. I think it was like $2 back then, and you could get the hot dogs. And it was a lot of fun. And it was in northeast Philadelphia. Not that far from this location. You heard the gentleman call. He said it's totally changed, and it has. The federal government changed it completely with low-income housing. I'm not talking about race. I'm talking about the whole nature of the community. These were hard-working and still are blue-collar men and women. As I told you, a lot of cops and firefighters who work in Philadelphia live in the northeast of Philadelphia. Maybe they live in other places now. I haven't been there a long time. But it was a wonderful childhood, a wonderful place, Philadelphia, to grow up in these areas, experience the different things and so forth. Just terrific. And yet here I am, in Florida and Virginia. What's that all about? Well, I wanted to work in the Reagan administration. That's what it's all about. There's a guy by the name of Bryce Mitchell. He's a UFC fighter. He's also the lowest of the low lives. He has a podcast. I won't give you the name. And on his podcast, he is celebrating Adolf Hitler. He's condemning the greedy Jews. And this is a guy who's popular, apparently, with one or more people whose names you might be familiar with. I want you to listen to what he says here, because this is still alive out there. It's still, it just never dies. Cut one, go.
Hitler, hell and the Nazis. I really don't think that he was, because I honestly think that Hitler was a good guy based upon my own research, not my public education indoctrination. I really do think before Hitler got on meth, he was a guy to go fishing with. He fought for his country. He wanted to purify it by kicking the greedy Jews out that were destroying his country and turning them all into gays. They were gaying out the kids. They were queering out the women. They were queering out the dudes. They were, you know what her first tranny surgery ever was? Happened to be in Germany before Hitler took over. You know the books that everybody makes fun of Hitler burning? You know what the books was? Queer books. Hitler burned queer books because Hitler didn't want a bunch of queers destroying his nation. They can't produce children.
Really? Funny thing is, many people thought Hitler was gay. Not to offend, but that's what they thought. But this guy sounds like a brilliant man, doesn't he, Mr. Producer? And he's a dumbass, and he's not a dumbass because he's taken a lot of punches to the head. He was born a dumbass. And unfortunately, this mindset, some people have been listening now, are saying he's right. He's right. No, he's a lowlife. So Dana White, in the course of this, he responds to this. Cut 2, go.
And I'm sure you guys heard what Bryce Mitchell said. If you haven't, said some probably, I've heard a lot of dumb, ignorant in my day, but this one's probably the worst. When you talk about Hitler, he's responsible for the death of 6 million Jews, and he tried to completely eliminate a race of people. World War II was the deadliest war in history. 15 million military deaths, 45 million civilians, and 25 million soldiers were killed in World War II. Second of all, Hitler is one of the most disgusting and evil human beings to ever walk the face of the earth, and anyone that even tries to take an opposing position is a moron. That's the problem with the internet and social media. You provide a platform for a lot of dumb, ignorant people. We've obviously reached out to Bryce, and when we read what he said and let him know how we feel about it, I don't even, we're beyond disgusted.
Dana White's a good man. Now I hear on Reddit and other places they're saying that Guantanamo Bay, where Donald Trump wants to put the murderers and the pedophiles and the rapists who are here illegally, and we can't figure out how to get them back where they came from, or they're just too dangerous to release anywhere. At Guantanamo Bay, where, of course, they'll still have due process rights, they'll still have meals, they'll still have showers, they'll still have, that it is basically a concentration camp. That Donald Trump is setting up a concentration camp at Guantanamo Bay. That's what's out there in social media. Sick beyond belief. Sick beyond belief. But Dana White's a good man. The UFC is a wonderful, wonderful league. I'm hooked on it. But this lowlife, this Bryce Mitchell. Let's wait till he's in the ring next time. Let's see who cheers him on and who doesn't. Who interviews him and who doesn't. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
This country was founded on freedom. Freedom from a country that forced us to buy overpriced tea, then try blockading us when we dumped their tea into the ocean. How'd that work out? Well, it's time to throw your overpriced big wireless contract overboard, too. You don't need to pay $100 a month per person just to get a free phone. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, says no to inflated prices and gimmicks. With a qualifying plan of just $45 a month, you can choose a free iPhone 14 or a free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plans. And yes, this is for a premium service. Unlimited talk, text, 25 gigs of data, and mobile hotspot at a fraction of the price of the big three. All on America's most dependable 5G network. Get your free iPhone 14 or Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plans by visiting puretalk.com/Levin today. Switching is easy. Again, that's puretalk.com/LEVIN to claim your free iPhone or Galaxy with a qualifying purchase from Pure Talk. America's wireless company, my wireless company. It's a very, very busy night. Reuters, U.S. President Donald Trump's envoy, Richard Grenell, said on Friday he was headed back to the United States with 6 American citizens who had been held hostage after he met with Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in Caracas. Officials from the Trump administration had said earlier that one of Grenell's top tasks for the visit was the release of Americans detained in the country. Grenell did not name the 6 men, but they were dressed in light blue outfits used by the Venezuelan prison system. It's unclear exactly how many Americans are being held by Venezuela, but Venezuelan officials have spoken publicly of about at least 9. Maduro accused them of terrorism. Said some were high-level mercenaries. Of course, this is what the Marxist thugs do. The Venezuelan government regularly accuses members of the opposition and foreign detainees of conspiring with the U.S. to commit terrorism. American hostages that are being held in Venezuela must be released immediately. Marcio Clavaclone Caron, the U.S. Special Envoy for Latin America, said earlier today. Late 2023, Venezuela's government released dozens of prisoners, including 10 Americans, after months of negotiations. So there you have it. We just know that Grinnell brought them back. You know, the power of Trump is just, these people fear him, and they should. They should. You know, the more I look at this video, Mr. Producer, it doesn't even look like the plane was intact fully, does it? It just looks like an asteroid slamming the Earth. That's, to me, I'm just visualizing it, and that's a massive explosion. Let's see here. James, Ben Salem, Pennsylvania, XM Satellite. Go right ahead, please.
Hey, how you doing, sir? Just want to say I'm a first-time, long-time. I've been listening to you for like the last 12 years.
Thank you, buddy.
It's you and Andrew Wilkow are the reasons why I keep this.
Andrew's a great guy. He's a good buddy.
So,
Go ahead.
My background's in aviation, and with the local news saying it was a Lear, it was probably a Lear 55. You can actually find all this information if you just know where to look. All air traffic communication is online. So
yeah, it's all registered. Yep.
Yep, and they found the call sign. I called my one buddy. I was like, hey, keep your ear to the ground, and he found out in 10 minutes, tail number, everything.
So what about this plane? Yeah.
So this plane, like all planes, the way they're designed is it has two engines. On takeoff, if one engine fails, the other engine is to take the weight. So it's probably a catastrophic failure that's not something that multiple things have gone wrong for this aircraft. Because it's looking like it was a Mexican-registered aircraft, so I don't know their quality of maintenance. I would venture to say it's not as good as we do in America, especially for a small aircraft like this. This one's probably from the early 80s, so it's got a lot of time on it, and if it's not maintained right, it's only a matter of time.
Really? And by the way, it didn't go far, did it? From the regional airport to that mall. Yeah.
No, yeah, you know P&E to the boulevard and all that. It's not far at all.
No.
Yes.
All right, my friend.
It was a Lear 55.
Yeah. Is that what it said?
Yeah, it's yeah. So I had the registration number too. I just don't feel comfortable releasing it online.
No, don't release
over
it.
The radio.
But it's a Lear 55 registered in Mexico, you said.
Yes, sir. There was one of the it's under like jet rescue, I believe.
Which would be medical, I guess.
Yes, sir.
It all's adding up. It all makes sense. And that was a great call, James. I want to thank you very, very much. In Ben Salem, Pennsylvania. These are all my communities. We'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Well, that caller from Ben Salem, Pennsylvania, about 20 minutes ago, this is the great thing about a program like this and talk radio. He was right. It's a Lear jet from the 1980s. As a matter of fact, it's 43 years old, the jet. And it is registered in Mexico. I heard somebody say Miami. I don't know. Just telling you what we've been told. And it's basically an air ambulance. And the FAA says there were at least two people. That's the pilot and the co-pilot. There were more than two people. It was head for Springfield, Missouri, according to the flight path, which you have to register to. And so the guy from Ben Salem and others, they know where to look, and that's where they looked. And they have more than that. They have the wing number. They have all kinds of things. And it was, as he said, an old Lear jet. And he's right. Now, this airport and this mall are literally, I don't know, they're very close to each other, and I just heard that this plane crashed in less than a minute after it took off, Mr. Producer, and that would make sense. What I'm being told by people who seem to know things is that that means there was a catastrophic disaster. And the way it crashed, it clearly caught on fire. It was a fireball, basically. And I don't know if it hit the mall now, or if it hit close to the mall, or street near the mall. But by another video, somebody's dash cam, it looks like it hit smack in the middle of the road, which would explain all the devastation in that sort of 1 or 2 block area, which was significant. And so now you are fully up to date with what we know and what anybody knows who's in the public. I'm sure there's other information. I don't think there's any black box on a private plane. I've never heard of one, but I suppose it's possible. And I really don't know what the NTSB is going to have left to look at here, Mr. Producer. There's really nothing left. I mean, there are pieces of the plane, they can put it together, but I don't think that's going to tell them much. And so they'll just use logic, they'll look at the video, they'll make some conclusions about, obviously it was a massive, mechanical failure. Massive. So, no foul play or anything like that. And that plane looked like when you look at it, it looks like a fireball, it looks like a missile. A slamming right into the ground. I mean, at full speed. At full speed. I suspect the people on the plane weren't with us by the time that thing was hitting the ground. As a matter of fact, that's my guess. But we'll know more during the course of the week, and presumably. Let's go to, I can't see here. Is there a Craig from Highland, New Jersey? Is that right, Rich? I don't want to get into that stuff right now. Yeah, well, let's if people have some knowledge or are living near the area, we'll take those calls. Otherwise, I may sprinkle in a few issues here and so forth, but it's kind of hard to just move on to DEI and so forth right now, at least from my perspective. This had nothing. Obviously, this was an absolute disaster. We still don't know about any injuries on the ground. If there weren't any injuries on the ground, that is absolutely incredible. That would be absolutely incredible. And it's possible there weren't any injuries on the ground. I don't think that mall took a direct hit. I think the initial reporting was a little bit off, if not a lot off, because one of the videos that I saw, one of the videos I saw looked like it was in the middle of the road. Didn't it to you, Rich? You were surprised it hit the road. Yeah. Well, when a direct hit with a mall that looks like a missile, your mind starts to go places, doesn't it? But I'm always careful and cautious about that sort of thing. If I'm thinking about it, I'll let you know, but that doesn't mean I'm promoting it or saying it happened. But this looks like it was right in the middle of the road. I don't know how it missed all these stores, and it goes right over the row homes. Right over the row homes. And I don't think there was any piloting this thing at that point. I really don't. I think it was over. I mean, imagine that. This is what happens. There's a medical issue. They're flying to Missouri and to northeast Philadelphia. Springfield, Missouri is what the flight plan says. And they don't last more than a minute. Crazy. In fact, some are saying closer to 30 seconds. Really? Just crazy. I think that airport, I'm doing this off the top of my head, and that area, that spot, I think they're like 3 or 4 miles apart. That's it. So obviously it happened as soon as they got in the air, whatever it was, which is, it's funny. Yeah, I don't like small planes. I don't get on small planes. I know people who own small planes. They're really hot on their small planes. They think they're great and so forth. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them per se. I don't know what the statistics and the data are. I don't like them. I just don't. I don't feel comfortable in them. I've had people say to me, why don't you buy a jet? Number one, I can't afford a jet. Who do you think I am? The upkeep of the jet, you got to keep the pilot and the co-pilot employed because they're great guys. They can't just come and go. The upkeep, the maintenance, the housing. What do I do that for? I fly first class now and then. When I'm asked to speak somewhere or go somewhere, and I rarely do, but when I do, that's all I ask for. I don't want their honorarium. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't want any money. But I'll say first class. Why? Because I don't want people bothering me. I want to take a nap. Or I want to take notes, or I want to work on my book, or I want to do stuff. I can't just sit there. And now with my leg, it's even worse, but I rarely do it. So why would I buy a jet, for God's sakes? Some people do. That's great. Some people have jets. Some people have helicopters. They say they're average Americans. You see that, Mr. Producer? Oh, yeah. I wouldn't know what to do, but this is the sort of stuff that makes me nervous, even though it doesn't happen a lot. And anyway, it's very sad. We'll find out what happened eventually. I guess. We may not on this one. I don't know. I think we're going to have more. The experts can say it might have been this or it might have been that. It was probably this, but I don't think they're going to be able to be very specific. I think they will with the horrible accident that happened 2 nights ago. The days are kind of together. Was it 2 nights ago or 1 night ago, Rich? I don't even remember at this point. Is it 2 nights? Wow. Now that occurred right before we signed off and we didn't know about it. And then it was reported right after 9 p.m. This occurred at 6:30 or so p.m. And this explosion was so loud, people heard it. We had a caller who called and said he lives 5 miles away and it shook his house. It's a big explosion. And we're going to see more and more video, I'm sure, on local TV of what took place here. Let's drop another issue in here, Panama Canal. This is a very serious issue. I'm not sure how it's going to be resolved. The Communist Chinese have both sides of the Panama Canal so they can choke off our Navy. Make no mistake about it, the Communist Chinese are aiming for us. They're aiming for us through geographic, strategic locations of their military, of their commerce, by stealing our information and using it against us. The Panama Canal, Donald Trump is 100% right. And I'm really sick and tired of the appeasers in Congress, including in the Republican Party, but the Democrat Party is so horrendous. He's against democracy. No, they're against democracy. They're against republicanism. They're against the Constitution. They are loathsome. They are loathsome. So here he is today on the Panama Canal. Cut 20, go.
One of the wonders of the world, one of the great wonders of the world. And we didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama. And Panama's been ripping down all the China language signs. They've been working like mad to try, but about 70% of the signs were up and they were written in Chinese, and that's not the deal. So we're going to take it back. They've already offered to do many things, but we think it's appropriate that we take it back. They've totally violated the agreement. We have an agreement. They violated the agreement, and Marco Rubio's going over there to talk to the gentleman that's in charge.
Yeah. Now, President trying to reduce the size of government. I hope you'll watch the programs this week, and I hope you'll watch Life, Liberty, and Levin tomorrow night and Sunday night. I want to strongly encourage you to set your DVRs or your smart TVs, however you record, to do it. That way, if you step away, it's to your convenience. We love you to watch it live, but if it turns out it's the weekend, 8 p.m., it's completely understandable. But I hope you'll set your DVR. Don't wait till midnight or 1 in the morning. Just set your DVR and play it whenever you want to. 2 very, very important opening monologues Very important guests. You see, folks, I don't have a conga line of guests. These daily shows, and I'm not even talking about Fox, any daily show, these daily shows, they need to fill airtime, so they have guests. They bring in 7 guests, 8 guests, 3 guests on one panel. You know what you learn from that? Nothing. Why have guests at all? Because they need them. They can't carry the show. You see a lot of that on radio, too. There are very interesting guests. I'm not ideological one way or the other, but I just don't load up guests for the reason of loading up guests. I will have guests if I think what they're doing is important and that we need to share that information with you. Now, that said, we have 2 guests each program. We have requests for people to come on. We could have 50 guests each program. I'm not going to do anything like that. In fact, down the road, we'll probably get back now and then to 1 guest, because I want to do these deep dives with people who matter. So we're very careful about who we pick. Now, some of them you're familiar with, but that's okay. That's because they're really good. Some of them you're less familiar with. This weekend, we have a mix. And I think it's very, very important what we're going to discuss on Saturday and Sunday. Nobody writes my monologues like they do for so many other people. I write my monologue. And a lot of times I don't even write it. I just have the information in front of me with some notes and some documents that I reveal to you. And as long as you watch, I'll keep doing it. If you don't want to watch, I'll get out of there. Give it to somebody else. I'm not a person with a TV show. I'm not a person with a radio show. I'm an activist, historian, study philosophy, study economics, really an expert on the Constitution and American history. That's who I was. That's who I am. I'm an attorney who happens to have a TV show and a radio show and on Blaze. That's it. Not the other way around. Not the other way around. So I did things a little differently than most. And so that's why I do this Fox show that I want you to watch. These 2 on the weekend are there's no football excuses. Think to yourself, these shows are very, very important this weekend. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
There were 6 people on the plane. I want you to hear what was going on in the tower as this was transpiring. The tower in the Northeast Regional Airport. Go ahead.
Medevac Med Service 056, Northeast Tower. Contact Philly 123.8. Medevac Med Service, Northeast Tower. Medevac Med Service 056, Northeast Tower. You on frequency?
Medevac Mike Tango Sierra 056, Northeast Tower. How do you hear this transmission?
Medevac Med Service 056, Northeast Tower.
Foxtrot 560908 Foxtrot Northeast Ground, Roger. Stand by 1. I'll get back to you when I can.
They're desperately trying to make contact.
Approach to runway 24. What's going on down there?
Position 765. We have a lost aircraft. We're not exactly sure what happened, so we're trying to figure it out. For now, the field is going to be closed, so no inbounds or outbounds probably.
All right, understand. Thank you.
6098 Foxtrot. I'm sure you copied that, but for right now, we're gonna call the field closed. We'll try to get you out here when we can. If we can't, we'll have to take you over to Atlantic. But stand by for now.
And the plane was lost. So they closed down that airport, and they couldn't find the plane because it had crashed. Unbelievable. That's exclusive. That's a first. You've heard it here. As we all wonder. Okay. Donald Trump at the White House today. Oh, we don't have enough time for it. We'll do it after the break. We're just talking about, look, I'm trying to reduce the government. You know, it's a funny thing. The left always said, oh, really? Look at the debt. That's on him. Look at him. What did he do to reduce the government? Because the left is diabolical. The left is evil. Whatever you do, they attack. Because all they care about is power. First and foremost, that's all they care about is power. So Donald Trump is actually trying to reduce the government. He's trying to get a hold of the federal bureaucracy, trying to reduce the number of employees by buying them out, which you would do in the private sector. He wants employees who are going to do their job, and so they're going through substantively, seeing if people are doing their job. How dare he fire people that tried to put him in prison? What are you talking about? So we'll play that for you when we come back, and we're also going to give you any update that we have. We're not going to do the loop thing where we go over the same thing over and over again. We'll be right back.
Blasting conservative fire. The Mark Levin Show. Call in now at 877-381-3811.
I think when you cut through all the static, hopefully we'll know more at some point. These people are going, it won't help them, just as it won't help the people who died in the Potomac. Here, I think there was just a catastrophic disaster on that plane, and it happened very, very quickly. And, I mean, it's hard to, I don't know what you put in place to fix it other than a very thorough and regular maintenance program. And sometimes that doesn't even catch things, like with your car. And what happened in the Potomac River there is completely different with the collision. And that's something I think that's more man-made, if you will. And something needs... I'm just saying they're sort of distinct, I think. I mean, I know, I can see it. All right, here's Donald Trump. Earlier today, he says, look, I want to slow the growth and cut the size of government. Go.
With efforts to reduce the federal workforce, whether it's offering what we've called the buyout package or other efforts, do you have any concerns that there will be employees broadly across the federal government who might take that up? And they're a part of the many different ways that agencies protect the public, from food inspections to water safety to the air.
But everybody's replaceable, and we'll get very good people to replace them if it turns out to be more than we thought. It could be a lot, it could be a little, we don't know, but we'd love to have them leave. We're trying to, remember this, we want them to go into the private sector. It's our dream to have everybody almost working in the private sector, not in the public sector. We have many people, very few people came to work. They were, it started more or less with COVID, but actually even before COVID. But it started with the COVID, they didn't come back. And then Biden let them get away with murder, and we had a federal workforce like 4% coming into the office, and that just doesn't work. People can say it does, but it doesn't work. You have to be unified in a group in the office. It's just it was crazy. You don't know what they're doing, and then at some point we may ask them to certify that they didn't have two jobs, meaning were they really getting a check from us?
Wow, great point. Great point. Go ahead.
Job and a third job. And
can we take this live, Mr. Producer, right now? Yeah, let's do this live right now if we can, please. Okay, we don't have it. Okay, let's try. Looks like it's the mayor.
We're urging you to please stay away from the scene. If you see debris, call 911. Don't touch anything. This is still an active scene under investigation. I'm proud to note that all of our federal and state partners, they are either en route here or on the ground with us right now. We did see some neighbors who live in the surrounding community. Just stay in your home. Again, it's still an active scene and it's under investigation. This is only the first of many briefings, I'm sure, to come on this evening. And of course, when daylight comes, when we have more facts and information to share with you. But I do want to say a special thank you right now, again, to all of our federal and state partners and our amazing first responders right here in the city of Philadelphia. Our fire, our EMS, our police department, they have been here working vigorously to ensure that we get this perimeter and the surrounding area blocked off to ensure that we make public safety and health our number one priority. So we don't have any further information to share at this time. I've spoken to our Governor Josh Shapiro. He is en route. I've spoken to our U.S. Senator John Fetterman, other federal officials, and everyone. All hands on deck. That's where we are right now. Thank you so very much, and we'll have more information to report in the near future.
Thank you, Mayor.
That's the Mayor, Shirley Parker, who obviously doesn't know anything, as best as I can tell, Mr. Producer. But then again, what do I know? All right. Let's go to Charlie, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, on the Mark Levin app. Charlie, go right ahead, please.
Hey, Mark, first-time caller, long-time listener, and I have to call in this situation. My goodness.
Yeah.
Looking at the what I saw on TV, the pitch angle was what you would see if you were descending and making an emergency descent from 30,000 feet. Mm-hmm. And it's my personal feeling, and I flew out of Northeast Philly for 10 years, retired from the major airline. Yeah. It looks like it was a mechanical failure, pitch trim runaway or something. I'm speculating, but it was something they couldn't control.
100%. I mean, they weren't 30,000 feet up, obviously. What were they, a couple thousand feet, 30 seconds, barely that. And it was pretty much a fireball that slammed right into the ground there, you know? So you figure something blew up on the plane there?
No, it blew up when it hit the ground. The airplane grosses out like
but it looked like a fireball to me. Made my eyes deceive me. It looked like it was already engulfed in flames to me. No?
No, it exploded when it hit. It's considered a medium-sized corporate jet or personal jet. And I think the gross takeoff is like 21,000 pounds. So they're full of fuel, going to either harvest in Oregon or take someone someplace in Missouri. And they had no control.
No, it's sad, isn't it? It's just...
It certainly, in light of what happened in Washington, I can speculate on that also. I've been now there for like 20 years.
Well, what do you think?
And, airport. Speculation on that, I think the helicopter was not where it was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. The jet was exactly where it was supposed to be.
I don't know what they expect the jet to do. There was nothing the jet could do. They waved him in effectively. He was on the right place. He was at the right height. And there's not a lot you can do when you're 400 feet off the ground, is there?
No, and I've had experience in Northeast Philly with a helicopter, and I had to reject the landing. He did not respond. If I continued, we probably would have had him midair. But I saw him. It was daytime. Nighttime's a little different. And I don't think the folks in the American Eagle saw it at all. I think the responsible visual, and they were visual supposedly in the helicopter. That's their responsibility to avoid the other aircraft.
And they were hit right in near the wing, the fuselage area. I mean, there's no way the pilot would have seen that, right?
No, behind them. Yeah. And the old axiom is if you see something in the air, a light, and it's not moving, it's going to hit you. It's coming at you. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that their vision was on the runway. They were focused on that. It wouldn't be a time
really
to be
sad.
looking out the window.
I mean, they were literally, 40, 50 seconds from hitting land, from landing. Terrible.
No, they were like about 10, 15 seconds from landing.
Really?
And sure, they were like 400 feet doing 114 knots.
I'm just repeating what I've heard.
Yeah. Well,
all right, man. Very, very informative. I appreciate it. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate it, yeah. We have a couple other callers we'll probably want to get to, too, but we'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I don't think we're going to have many answers for quite some time about this particular crash here. I just don't. We hear the experts, they're speculating about a wind stall or a mechanical problem in the tail, maybe disorientation. All right, so that's three possibilities, but I for you and me, we pedestrians, and for many of them apparently, it's just impossible to know. I feel like the horrendous accident that happened the other night in the Potomac is going to be, they're going to be able to figure that one out. But this one, I think they're going to do, maybe it was this, maybe it was that, whatever it is, these poor people are gone. And I think one of the reasons these things really get to us and keep us up sometimes is because you can only imagine the nature of what a human being goes through when they're in air and there's some deadly accident. But I think about this too. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just odd. When I hear about, for instance, an illegal alien killing a young girl after abusing them, beating them, murdering them, I went, what went through that kid's head? What were they thinking? They were calling out, in their mind at least, to their mother and their father for help. Death is tough. It's particularly when it is violent. January 27th was International Holocaust Remembrance Day. I guess this fighter at the UFC didn't even think there was one. It's a day to remember the great evil of the Holocaust when millions of Jews were slaughtered in horrendous ways. Imagine being pushed into an oven and being cooked alive. Or being gassed or being lined up with thousands of other people and shot in the back of the head. Imagine what happened on October 7th in Israel. Decapitation, mass rapes. Well, I've got a little bad news. Some of you may be good news, but I doubt it if you're listening. Next week, Monday through Thursday, I will not be here. I've got some business to attend to. I'll be back on Friday. So don't get nervous. But, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I will be back on Friday. Certain things you got to do. You got to do them, you do them. But you'll be in mind and heart. You always are. I'm doing what I love. I'm very lucky. I'm blessed, which is to talk to you every evening during the week. I really am blessed that you're out there. We go to America every Friday in honor of you. Here we go. plane was a pediatric patient. That means the patient was a child who also died in that crash. It's very, very sad. It's been a very sad week, hasn't it? Don't forget, Life, Liberty, and Levin tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. I really hope if you can't watch it, you'll set your DVR. I have an idea. Set your DVR no matter what. And watch it. I know you're going to like it. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers, the men and women in Ukraine, our brothers and sisters in Israel, and you'll notice that we celebrate our first responders every single day. God bless you guys. Good night, Spritey and Griffey and Pepsi and Smokey. Good night, Zelda and Gigi and Indy and Patton and Rory. Good night, little Barney and Marty. Good night, Dad. Good night, Mom. Good night, Leo. Good night, Joe. Good night, Teddy. Good night, Bernie. Good night, Lou, and all the other great patriots who are no longer with us. And may God bless those families who've lost loved ones. And I'll see you tomorrow night on Life, Liberty, and Levin. Set that DVR. Take care.